So, my advice for folks who didn't hand it in for early grading is to start your project by doing this type of a brainstorm, so that then you know what you're going to put in your email. Then the next step is to outline, even though it might only be 4 paragraphs long. It's a good idea to outline. And then you write it. And then when you're writing it now, it writes itself, because you already know the facts. All you need to do is, and you know where they need to go, all you do is turn it into complete sentences and put in the connecting stuff to make them paragraphs. And you also, with the outline, decide where the required facts, if there are any, need to go. And for your committee progress email report, there's some required facts. So speaking of the committee progress email report, let's brainstorm that. Let's get rid of this hypothetical example. And for the folks who have already done the project for early grading, you can contribute to this discussion, definitely, because you've already done this. Who had a due for their committee project email report? Who had a due for their hospital director? And everybody needed to have a due, so it's more like who can express it. Yeah.
To assure the director that the appointments are happening on time and
So that same as the example. You just want to assure, but you want to assure on time.
Yeah, like they're happening in a timely manner.
Gotcha. In a timely manner, which is a verbose way of saying on time. Okay. So you had the required facts, blah, 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 right. And it might have been a good idea to go ahead and literally throw those down here. But then if you just gave the required facts, it would, and that's it, it would not do that. You intuited that. So what was something extra or some extra things that you threw in there?
Well, I said I attached like a list of the like the rough draft of the selection, so he can see them if he has any questions.
So you attached
like a rough draft of like the.
You attached the Word document.
Yeah.
Listing all 10 committee assignments?
Yeah, they were, if like the rough draft before people like officially accepted him, if he wanted to see him.
What was the name of your doctor?
My doctor?
Yeah, what's your doctor's name?
Dr. Frank.
Dr. Frank. So, Dr. Frank, Dr. F can do what?
Can be sure they're up to par, and if he has any questions about them, like if he agrees with the selections.
Okay, I wouldn't have done that if that's your goal, because here's the thing. If your goal was you want to assure Dr. Frank that the committees will have great folks on them, then give them details about who you're thinking of putting on the committees, so that Dr. Frank can review them and say like, oh yeah, that's really great. And I would have put okay, and I wouldn't have just said, oh, and here's the list of 10 committees, which, how many doctors are on each committee on average in your hypothetical?
5 to 10, depends on the committee.
Okay, so maybe 100 doctors. Here you go. You know what I mean? That doesn't sound like a time fair to me.
Gotcha.
Instead, maybe you send a list Maybe instead, you just have a paragraph that explains, oh, by the way, I'm really looking forward to these committees because this committee has this great person that's agreeing to serve. This committee has, you just give them highlights, right? So for example, if I'm explaining to someone how super fantastic my fantasy football team is this year, right? I don't have to go all the way down the roster to my third reserve tight end, right? All I gotta say is like, yeah, I got Jamal Charles in the draft. Right? It's going to be a good year. Oh, and by the way, Jay Cutler, he fell to me too. He's so undervalued. You know, you just give a couple highlights. Yeah, you know, and he's undervalued. He's going to blow up this year. Yeah, you know. So, right? Okay. But this is right out. I don't think it's connected to your, did you have other stuff in there?
I just had like a bunch of dates and plans on it for.
A bunch of dates. Okay, so see, there you got lost. You were looking in the wrong place there. A bunch of dates. Just a bunch of dates. What's your whole goal?
To show they're happening on time.
Is it going to be done by a specific date? So that's the information you want to focus on, right? Because on time. Is it going to be done on time this year? I don't know. Let's look at the dates. When stuff hopefully will happen. Okay. And in the required facts, you had, so this is another way that being focused on your goal can also help you to, for example, organize your email. Because your whole email deals with time, right? And so with these facts, some things have been done. I have done, someone else has done, they've been done. Some things are still in the process of doing, right? And then some things you still need to do in the future, right? Or other people still need to do in the future. Is there anything that the, who are you working with on this project again? I forget. Chief of Staff? Okay. Is there anything that the Chief of Staff needs, from the required facts, is still working on or needs to do in the future?
Not from the required facts.
So the Chief of Staff is all in the past?
Yes.
I have done, Chief of Staff has done, okay. And you are doing things in the present, okay, so you probably want to talk about that. And then you will do things in the future. Is there anyone else who has to do things in the future to make this finish on time?
I mean, I guess the doctors have to.
The doctors. A bunch. Because you're talking about almost 100 doctors, potentially. A bunch of doctors. You see where this is going?
Yeah.
Right. So what are the chances that all 50 to 100 of those doctors are going to do the thing you need them to do in the future for this thing to happen on time if you do nothing?
Probably very slim.
Right. What you are so here's the extra fact that you need. This is really all you need. You just need one thing. Okay, so here is one thing, the most likely thing that could go wrong. Right? Because you're smart that way and you think ahead and you intuit that. And so here's what you either are doing in the present or will do in the future to prevent that from happening. And so now you're thinking, it's like, well, what were the doctors supposed to do? You know that. And you're like, well, okay, what could I do? What's maybe two things that you could do? Maybe you're a belt and suspenders kind of person. Are there two things you could do to try to make sure that that definitely happens? Probably a few things are coming to mind, right? There you go. And the director doesn't have to do anything. The director doesn't have to look through a list of 100 doctors that you attach for some reason. I don't know. You know, it's just assure it's done on time. Yeah, now I am.
I mostly just attached it because he is like the head of the hospital, and if he wants to know what's going on, it's there for him, and he doesn't have to ask for it.
Okay, is he busy?
Probably.
Did he ask for it specifically?
No. So this wouldn't be a time where you want to be proactive then?
Well, here's the thing. If you do attach it, you want to connect it to a specific goal.
Okay.
And you want the goal to be, this can save you time or make your job easier somehow.
I gotcha.
So maybe if it was a situation where in the past, is Dr. Frank like new to the hospital or what?
No.
Okay, so they've been there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't need any background of the doctors or anything.
No.
Okay, maybe last year you noticed that Dr. Frank was, is it Dr. Frank? Yeah, Dr. Frank was kind of irritated about how did that person get on that committee? How did that person get on that committee? Then maybe one of the goals is, unlike last year, this year I'm giving you a chance to review the assignments before they're set in stone, before I've even heard back from all the doctors.
Okay.
So we can still shuffle them around a little bit.
I gotcha.
So
You know.
that's why I've attached that.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
And hopefully you would have organized the list of doctors so that it's super insanely easy to skim.
Gotcha.
But I wouldn't attach it just because then it's like, oh, why are you know,
Okay.
it doesn't attach to anything.
Gotcha.
Anyway, is that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think also maybe you created too much work for yourself on this project.
Probably.
Probably. So something to think about. But this is probably the simplest goal you could think of for an email like this. And for an email like this in the practical real world, this would probably be the most common goal. You know, like the email to Dr. Dre. I'm achieving an overt goal of assuring you I'm on top of stuff, this will be done on time, because I am doing some specific things explained in 3 or 4 sentences that show you that, yeah, I'm someone who plans ahead and looks out for trouble and still makes it go. Right? What's the implicit do here? Like, for example, the defining objectives worksheet. What type of report are you writing? This is an informal progress report. Where exactly does the textbook explain it? Not just, well, chapter or whatever, but there's a specific spot within a specific section. Why are you writing the report? What is your main practical goal? Your practical goal is not to assure Dr. Frank that it will be done on time. That's the goal of the email. What is your goal? What are you trying to get done for you?
Get a promotion?
Yeah, or something, look good. I'm not drafting Jamal Charles just because he's my favorite player. I mean, he's a great player, he's not my favorite. I'm drafting him because I want to win, right? I'm writing this email not just because I have some existential purpose in life to assure Dr. Frank that it will be done on time. No, I'm writing it because I want to be effective and I want Dr. Frank to know that. So my goal is maybe to get a promotion. My goal is to just more generally show off my effectiveness so I can get a promotion. So you could say, assure Dr. Frank it'll be done on time, and I'm a super fantastic administrative assistant. You just don't literally write that out, but it's in there. It's the implicit goal. It's your implicit goal. Who are you writing for, and what can they reuse the report to do? What is their main practical goal? Well, again, there's an explicit and an implicit. The explicit is, well, obviously they're assured it's done on time, but that's just a means to an end. Why do they want to be assured it's done on time? What does that help them to do?
Do their job on time, or like nobody's falling behind.
Yeah, I mean, it assures them that there are going to be no problems if they stay out of it. So it helps them to do nothing, right? Because they know that, like, oh, if this falls behind, then I'm going to have to get involved, and if I'm not assured that it's not going to fall behind, maybe I have to get involved now, maybe I have to do something, you know. No, it assures them, no, this will be done on time, which implicitly means, so there's nothing for you to do. So if their goal is, I would rather not be involved with this. So, who are you writing for? What can they use a report to do? Their practical goal. Their practical goal is to do nothing. this email accomplishes that by assuring them there's nothing for them to do. There you go. Now, there are some people that goal wouldn't work for. Like, for example, I've worked with managers who just cannot keep their hands off of stuff. They just can't do it. So for that type of person, attaching a list of like, here are all the committees and you can give some feedback or something, that might actually be canny, a smart thing to do for a type of person like that, because it gives them something to do. And if you're focused on, here's the stuff I need to do to make sure it's on time, if that's your main focus, then giving them something else to like play with in the meantime would be like a diversion, But that's only if Dr. Frank is a particular type of person that just can't keep their hands out of stuff. And you know the person I'm talking about, right? You've worked with them before. So. But yeah, if the goal is, the overt goal is assure them it's done on time, then the implicit goal is because they don't want to do anything, and this makes them feel good about that. So then I prompt you to make a statement of purpose. My report will assure you that this will be done on time so that you can be assured that there's nothing for you to do. And for this project, I would be perfectly happy if you were that literal, because I want you to get practice at least being that literal in your head. Right? So you can literally say for this project, my email will assure you that this committee reorganization will be done on time so that you can be assured there's nothing for you to do. It would be a beautiful, simple statement of purpose. Or you can invent a more complicated statement of purpose if there's actually a do-do, but make sure that your content matches that, and make sure you're clear about that in your head. So is this helpful? Hopefully. Now hopefully you're kind of seeing how the worksheet combined with some brainstorming helps you to focus. So then you can decide, first of all, what do I want to accomplish here? And then second, you can make sure that your email actually matches that goal. And you're being conscious and mindful of all of this. So it's a conscious, mindful thinking at every step. But it's thinking where, instead of having to like freeform it every time, it's structured. You've got some structured questions to ask yourself every time you get into a writing situation. What's the goal? Who am I writing for? What's my goal? What's their goal? Structured questions. These questions can apply to any writing situation. And you've got a structured technique. Like, okay, this is a relatively simple report, so I'm just going to do a quick do-know brainstorm. I want to be clear on what the do is, write it down. Then you don't have to think, you just brainstorm a bunch of stuff, and then you think, okay, well, what here matches that? That's what you put in the report. There you go. And that's it. Very different from writing an English essay.